Good evening. A morning hike to see the sunrise has turned into a dramatic fight for survival for one 18-year-old man.
Nate Green, a 19-year-old university student from Queensland, set out on a hike at Mount Barney National Park, expecting a challenging but rewarding adventure.
Nathaniel Green has endured 3 long, cold and challenging days stuck on Mount Barney, west of the Gold Coast.
An avid hiker and outdoor enthusiast, Nate had spent years exploring trails, but nothing had prepared him for what lay ahead. On that fateful morning, he packed his essentials: water, snacks, a light jacket, and his phone, and headed into the dense, rugged terrain of Mount Barney. Located about 90 kilometers southwest of Brisbane, the mountain, known for its steep ascents and unpredictable weather, had claimed many unsuspecting hikers before. However, Nate felt confident, believing he had the necessary experience to tackle the climb alone. The hike started smoothly. The sun shone brightly, casting a golden glow over the lush greenery. Birds chirped, and the sound of a nearby stream added to the serenity of the moment. Nate moved with ease, following the trail that he had studied beforehand. His heart pounded with excitement as he envisioned the breathtaking summit views. But in the mountains, complacency is a hiker's worst enemy. As the afternoon wore on, Nate encountered a fork in the trail. He checked his phone for GPS direction, but the signal was weak. Trusting his instincts, he took what he believed to be the right path. Hours passed, and the trail became less distinct. The once clear markers disappeared, replaced by dense undergrowth. The feeling of unease gnawed at him. He had ventured into an unfamiliar part of the mountain. He decided to retrace his steps, but as he turned around, every path seemed identical. The thick vegetation made navigation difficult. Shadows grew long as the sun began its descent behind the peaks. Panic threatened to creep in, but he reminded himself to stay calm. Then his phone's battery died. Nate's first instinct was to keep moving, but he quickly realized that wandering aimlessly in the dark was dangerous. The terrain was unforgiving. Steep cliffs, loose rocks, and dense foliage surrounded him. He found a relatively safe spot beneath a rock overhang and decided to stay put. The night was long and cold. With no sleeping bag or proper shelter, he curled up against the rock, trying to conserve body heat. The sounds of the wilderness, once calming, now felt menacing. The rustling of leaves, the distant howls of animals, and the eerie silence in between sent shivers down his spine. Hunger gnawed at him, but the bigger concern was dehydration. He had finished his water supply earlier, and his throat felt dry. As he lay there, shivering, he realized the gravity of the situation. He was alone, lost, and without the means of communication. Would anyone find him in time? Back in the city, Nate's family grew worried when he failed to return. They knew he had gone hiking, but he hadn't specified an exact route. By the next morning, when he still hadn't contacted them, they alerted authorities. A search and rescue operation was launched. Experienced bushwhackers, police, and the State Emergency Service combed through the vast expanse of Mount Barney National Park. Helicopters were deployed, scanning the dense wilderness from above. The challenge, however, was that Nate could be anywhere. Without a precise location, the rescuers faced an overwhelming task. On his second day in the wild, Nate knew he needed to find water. Dehydration would be his biggest threat. His body was growing weak, and the heat of the Queensland sun in February intensified his thirst. He followed the sound of trickling water and discovered a small stream. Cupping his hands, he drank deeply, the cold liquid reviving his spirit. With renewed energy, he began searching for higher ground in hopes of spotting a recognizable landmark. Hours passed with no luck. His legs ached and fatigue set in. He realized he had to conserve energy if he was going to survive another night. Using branches and leaves, he constructed a makeshift shelter near the water source, hoping it would provide some warmth. As night fell, fear once again took hold. The wilderness was relentless. He thought about his family, his friends, and all the things he had taken for granted. Would he ever see them again? On the morning of the third day, Nate's body felt weaker. The ordeal had taken its toll, but he refused to give up. As he sat near the stream, he heard something, a faint, distant noise. It wasn't the usual sounds of the forest. It was voices. Adrenaline surged through his veins. He climbed onto a rock and shouted with all his remaining strength, "Help! I'm here!" Moments later, a response echoed back. "Nate, is that you? Nate, is that you?" A team of rescuers emerged from the trees. Relief flooded over him as they rushed to his side. His ordeal was finally over. Though exhausted and dehydrated, Nate was otherwise unharmed. He was airlifted to safety where paramedics assessed his condition. After receiving fluids and medical attention, he was reunited with his family. The experience changed him. He had faced nature at its most unforgiving, pushed to the limits of survival. His story served as a reminder of the dangers of hiking alone and the importance of preparation. For Nate, the ordeal was near-death experience, but for many, it has been far worse. His survival was a mix of resilience, luck, and the swift response of search teams. Mountains are breathtakingly beautiful, but demand respect. Nate Green's story serves as both a cautionary tale and a testament to the indomitable will to survive. Please do subscribe to the channel for more surviving stories.